Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the fridge. On the menu tonight, World of Tanks. Today's gameplay comes from a player by the name of Kanonen Futter 2014, and he is driving the subject of today's video, the Object 705A. This tank is the new Russian Tier 10 Heavy with the rear-mounted turret. As you can see from the gameplay, this is one very well protected tank, and in this match bounces over 9,000. I am comparing the 705A to the protected heavy tanks such as the Mouse, the A5, the E5 and the other Russian heavies. Before we get to that strong stellinium armour, let's take a look at the firepower. The 705A is armed with a 152mm cannon with a beefy 650 hit point alpha strike. This means only the E100 hits harder, unless you count the 1100 hit point HE round that the Type 5 fires. 650 hit points with a 17.35 second reload gives you just shy of 2500 DPM. This does put it at the low end of the DPM scale. The other Russian heavies are basically the same, and every other nation does have better DPM. The Type 5 is again hard to compare because of that monster HE round. Penetration is good at 256mm, which is only 2mm behind the class leaders. Dispersion is bad at 0.42, which puts it well behind everything else. Even the E100 and the Type 5 is better with 0.38. Aim time is not bad at 2.68, which puts it between the 5A and the IS-4. Turret traverse is good at 29.2 degrees per second, putting it about 4 degrees behind the E5 and 2 degrees ahead of the 5A. Depression and elevation are reasonably typical for the Russians, having a poor depression of 5 degrees and a reasonably good elevation of 20 degrees. As for that strong stellinium armour, 175mm on the whole front, which doesn't sound like much, but as you can see it is heavily sloped. The lower plate is 140mm, which is, again, well sloped and easily hidden. Side armour is 100mm, although it does have that Russian spaced armour, so you're looking at more like 130mm. Rear armour is poor at 60mm. The turret front has a massive 330mm of armour, and that typical Russian dome, which is well known for bouncing anything but the most well placed of shots. Side armour is 150mm and rear armour is 120. So any shots at the turret do need to be quite accurate to stand a decent chance of going through. 2,450 hit points is nothing to sneeze at, putting it exactly between the IS-7 and the IS-4. When it comes to mobility, 1,500 horsepower is second only to the Morse, and weighing in at 100 tonnes gives it 15 horsepower per tonne, which puts it just behind the E5 at 16.3. All this horsepower does give a reasonable 40km/h top speed, with a typical 15 in reverse. Hull traverse speed is 25 degrees per second, which is better than the Germans and the Japanese, but slower than everything else. Concealment is not bad, but this is a protected heavy tank. You shouldn't be sitting in bushes. Get out there, spearhead that attack. Spotting is poor at 390 meters, with everything else I compared this to having 400 meters. But again, heavy protected tank. It's not a sniper. You're not supposed to be spotting things. As you can see, this thing is a brawler, not a sniper. She isn't outstanding at any one thing on paper, but as you can clearly see from the gameplay, she's great at bouncing rounds from almost any angle. Get stuck in, distract the enemy, let your teammates help out with their DPM while you soak up the damage. Personally, I'm going to be adding this one to my garage. She suits my playstyle and should reward me well. Thanks for stopping by the fridge. Please check out the links below to my Patreon and Twitch and consider supporting me there. If you have a funny or facepalm moment, email me the replay file and a quick description to thefridgereplays@hotmail.com. Thanks again for stopping by. I'll see you again soon.